Not asking this as an excuse, but a lot has been made about the rule changes and how they're calling the game.
It's still basketball at the end of the day. No matter how much of a big deal we try to make it, a foul is a foul.
Coach kind of said the same thing. He said that you're kind of like the poster boy of the new rule change now.
Yeah.
Do you kind of feel that way?
Yeah, for sure. But I'm not the type to complain about it. You know what I mean? I just, ask every official, if they see a foul, just call a foul. Sometimes I feel like, coming into a game, it's already predetermined, or I already have that stigma of, getting foul calls. But I just ask for officials to just call what they see.
Prior to the start of the 2021-22 season, the NBA adjusted its rule for how a foul should be called. In previous years, we've seen so many plays like this. Offensive players seeking and initiating the contact, and yet the foul is called on the defender. We also know the biggest offender of this, James Harden. I know it's early in the season and the sample size is not big enough, just visually there's a clear difference in how he's getting officiated, and it shows in the numbers. However, this has actually affected many players, not just Harden, and sometimes even more severe. As of this video, the average free throws per game across the league is at its lowest in the last decade, but it's also not that much lower. Although some players were impacted way more than others, overall, I think it's made the games better to watch, especially near the end. How's it going, folks? My name's Andy, and today let's take a look at 6 players, all of whom are elite scorers, yet their free throw rate has plummeted since the season started. But how and why is it happening? What's so special about their games that these new rule changes heavily impacted them? But before we start, this video is sponsored by Bright Cellars, a monthly wine club that gives you the chance to try out many different brands of wine and get them delivered straight to your doorstep. Bright Cellars helps you select the best wine choices that fit your personal taste. When you sign up, you take a quick 7-question quiz so Bright Cellars can suggest the best wines tailored for you. If you're new to wines and don't know where to get started, they cater towards audiences of all experience levels. I've always loved drinking wine, especially from all areas of the world. I recommend Herz and Heim. It's a light red wine with a slightly sweet aftertaste. It goes well with sausages and wursts. Each box comes with a wine education card for each bottle that outlines the tastes, suggests things that go well with it, and the best temperature to serve it, and where the wine originated from. Bright Cellars is giving followers 60% off their first 4-bottle box. Follow the link to take the quiz and get started. First, of course, let's take a look at James Harden. Since 2013, he led the league in free throw attempts per game for 6 separate seasons. He mastered the art of the foul. He knew all the tricks and maneuvers to get the call, even if it seemed ridiculous at times. However, despite regularly averaging over 10 free throws a game, that has dropped to fewer than 5 as of this video. It's his fewest free throw attempts per game since his sophomore season. To make matters worse, it has severely hindered his entire game. Because you can tell by these plays I'm showing you, he's still looking for the contact, still trying to seek the foul, to the point where he's taking horrible shots to try and draw them. Hence why his shooting efficiency across the board has plummeted. Out of all players here, Harden is the most notorious for this playstyle, but according to him, he feels like he's getting unfairly targeted. Steve Nash thinks so too. In a loss to the Hornets where Harden shot just 1 free throw, Nash stated, "I feel like he's unfairly become the poster boy of not calling these fouls. I get it, there's a line, but some of them are still fouls." Harden even claimed that these new rules weren't actually new rules. It's because people complained about him so much that the league told the refs to officiate him differently from everybody else. I will say, there's probably some truth to that, and I think the refs certainly are not giving him the benefit of the doubt like they used to. In the past, he'd get touch fouls here and there, and other calls that most players would never get. It'll take Harden a while to adapt, cause he's played this way for so long, he's used to getting all these calls. But hopefully, he does change it up. Harden is way too talented and skilled to let these new changes stop him. He's not the only one struggling though. Next up, it's Luka Doncic. Now, he's not even playing poorly. He's had a slow start, but he's still playing fairly well. However, the drop in his free throws makes a notable difference in his scoring. He went from taking 9 per game to 7 per game to 5 per game. Out of any season of his career, he's taking the fewest free throws per game, but also taking the most shots per game. As a result of getting fewer calls, him and many other guards and wing players have shied away from the basket, not expecting to get the call anymore. Doncic is taking half as many attempts at the rim than he's normally used to. In fact, less than 10% of his total attempts come at the rim, compared to 21% for his career. He's become much more of a jump shooter. Although Doncic doesn't get criticized as much as Harden for his flops or over-exaggerated contact, it was very apparent in recent years too. Doncic took full advantage of all the superstar calls and touch fouls, and even older players, did not like how the refs favored Luka and gave him all those free throws. However, with the rule changes in place, Doncic has suffered a similar fate as Harden. This habit of flailing his head at any slight of contact is ridiculous, as seen in this play here. It makes him off balance, and the shot is more difficult than if he just focused on taking a normal jumper. Or this play here, where he keeps trying to bump his defenders and get a call. It ends up turning into a worse shot than what he could have gotten. It shouldn't come as a surprise though, him and Harden's playstyles are very similar, especially the way they initiate contact. Plus, Doncic is notorious for complaining to the refs, a reputation he quickly developed in a short time. He would frequently complain about not getting a foul call, and then he wouldn't get back on defense, to the dismay of his coaches. Some of his complaints are legitimate, but regardless, this year, however, the refs are not as lenient. Trae Young is in a similar boat. He's shooting about 3 fewer free throws a game, but when he baits for fouls, it's usually out on the perimeter. He has a habit of leaning back into the opponent to draw a shooting foul, a tactic he's mastered over the last few years. Refs aren't giving him this foul that much anymore. It's ridiculous. He would dribble past a guy and then bump them with his back to draw a foul. It just looks so dumb. Bradley Beal. Beal is shooting about 3 free throws fewer this season compared to last. The reduced free throw attempts have also hurt his all-around efficiency, and just like Harden, he takes a lot of tough shots, but he's not getting the calls he's used to getting. For Beal, he's not known for flailing that much, but he's a master at using his body to absorb contact. The issue is, he's not getting the same calls at the basket anymore. In plays like this, for example, Beal tries to emphasize the contact but ends up throwing a bad shot instead. Another play here, he throws up a crazy shot during a spin move, expecting contact, but there's no call. The NBA has been more aware of not rewarding offensive players who initiate the contact while diving to the rim. Beal has always been incredibly adept at doing that, while screaming and flailing his arms to make it seem like he got hit. The refs aren't falling for stuff like this anymore. As a result, we've seen way more no calls at the basket. Even in this play from the preseason, Beal tries to force his way to the basket but collides with Evan Fournier, and he falls down to try and sell the foul. It didn't work. In years past, this would have been called a foul on Fournier, but this time, the refs saw that Beal was the one who crashed headfirst into him, so it was called an offensive foul. Like Luka, Beal's attempts at the rim has majorly dropped off this season. The lack of calls in the paint has turned him away from going there as often. Damian Lillard is a similar example to Beal. If you look at his shot attempts, field goals and threes have stayed the same, but his free throw attempts plummeted. Although I feel like Lillard is just off his entire game. Everything from his shooting to his speed has dropped off, and that translated to lower free throws too. For me, the most starking contrast in his game comes from his efficiency at the rim. In the previous year, he was phenomenal, hitting 63% of his shots when he's close to the basket. This year so far, it dropped to 53%. You could tell he's not getting many calls anymore, even if he feels the slightest contact. This, coupled with his horrendous three-point shooting, has led to this disaster of a season. Brandon Ingram. It's been a strong start to the season for Ingram, but just like the others, his free throw game has been non-existent. I mean, he never got to the line as often as the others anyway, but for a guy to average 25 points a game, yet not even attempt 3 free throws a game, that's kinda interesting. This season, Ingram has preferred to avoid contact, go around his defender or shoot over his defender, as opposed to going through them. Still, there are times when he tries to get bumped, but the foul isn't called. It wasn't always like this though. For example, from 2017 to 2019, Ingram averaged 13 shots a game with 5 free throws a game. That's a pretty good free throw rate. But in the early stages of this season, he's averaging 22 shots a game with just 2.7 free throws a game. That's a stark difference, but hey, it's been working for him. It doesn't matter how many free throws you shoot, as long as you're playing well. Though, like I mentioned earlier with Luka, it seems like him and many other wing players and guards are moving away from the basket, not towards the basket. Still, I remember all those articles a few years back praising Ingram's improved free throw drawing capability. It's funny because now he went in the complete opposite direction. Here's an article from 2018 when he was on the Lakers. Ingram was among the league's best in drawing fouls, so much so that he bordered elite status. According to Cleaning the Glass, the former Duke Blue Devil was in the 95th percentile among wings in shooting foul percentage. Working tirelessly on his body and adding mass, Ingram's improved physical core strength and conviction could be seen on every drive last season. No longer was he steering away from traffic or contact, he was initiating it. But he's not initiating much anymore. Perhaps the game is better this way, when players don't try to sell the contact and instead just try to aim for the basket. The NBA is removing all forms of fouls that involve non-basketball moves, like Harden's whiplash or flailing or intentionally falling. Stuff like that just makes the game so hard to watch. It'll be fun to see how these players adapt to these changes as the years go by. Anyway, let me know in the comments your thoughts on these foul changes. I'm sure most of us like it this way, but do you think some players are being unfairly shafted due to their reputation? There might be legitimate fouls that get swept under the rug. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed the video, and of course, as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.